What's up, guys? As you've already pretty well figured out, that some mistakes have happened. So now we're going to go through what the mistakes are, and at least one big one, and another one that I just figured out today, actually. So we're going to talk about mistakes after I show you what happened, how I'm going to fix it, and we'll go from there. So here we go. So I have here one of my wheel hubs off of the rear axle, the 14 bolt, and I've got all the studs pressed out of it. And so John and Brian made me this fabulous adapter, and if you caught the machining video, the purpose of this, I got studs to press into this as well. But this is how the semi wheel is going to bolt to this, and this bolts to my 8-lug wheel, so I can run the semi wheels on the Lodestar. They done an excellent job. It fits really good and tight. There's no play in it because it's hub centric, and that was the original plan, was to put studs in here and not, as you notice, them are not beveled holes like on a rim, because we wanted to run a washered lug, which I actually have one of them right here. This is a washered lug nut, and so it will fit on there and hold it down. But you want the weight to rest on the hub assembly itself. That way it's a little sturdier, handles weight a little bit better, because it rests on the center and the lug nuts hold it on. So one problem is I laid in bed tonight, I was getting ready to come put all this together, going over in my mind how I'm going to assemble this. And if anybody out there shares that affliction with me, you'll understand. And I had this epiphany that, crap, when I gave them this measurement, told them what I wanted, I forgot one important thing, and that is something goes on the hub before the adapter. That something is a brake rotor, and the brake rotor is hub centric to that little shelf right there, which is the shelf that we measured for the adapter. So now the issue with that is now I set my adapter on there, and look here. See that? I'll show you up close here. If you look, there's a lot of slop all the way around that. So what's going on is you can't, it's not hub centric anymore. So there's a couple ways to go about fixing that. Now, the one way would be to bevel these holes and make this center on the studs like a regular rim in most cases for Chevrolet. Now, I notice there's a lot of Dodges and Fords out there, and they're 1-tons that actually will hub centric this way. And there's some Chevrolets do as well, but not as many. We didn't want to do that because having the weight on the hub is the important part, because I do want to make this like a ramp truck. So I want to be able to haul stuff with it. So I want it to be able to handle some weight. So what they done was, is Brian made me this nice little ring. And what this ring does is it fits over the next shelf. You see that shelf right there in the hub. And it's a good tight fit on that. And it actually will press. Move this stuff out of the way now. It actually will press into the back of this hub. It's kind of a tight fit, and I'll have to kind of drive that down in there. And then the next thing is for it to stay there and not want to come out, because there's nothing going to keep it from wanting to work its way out. I'm going to make marks all around through here in between each stud, and I'm going to weld, just little spot welds, this to the back of the adapter here, and then smooth it down. So it's time to get to work. One thing I'm going to do, so I don't mar the metal any worse than I'm about to with a die grinder, is I'm going to take this piece of wood and drive it in like so, and it's good and level all the way around now. That's about what we want. So next, I'm going to take my air die grinder, and I'm fairly happy with that. It actually went a little bit more than I wanted it to. I'm gonna see if I can't work that back a little. I want it to come up some, so I want to sit on that. So I'm gonna take and just tap it. I drove it a little too much. Move this out of the way before I drop it. I'm just gonna tap. Just a little tap. A little better. I'm gonna get up here a little bit more. That's better. Okay, so now I can run around through here and I can feel if it's a little high there. Okay. So now I'm going to go right here and yes, it makes me sick because these adapters are so beautiful to do this. Unfortunately, it just has to be done. Now I'll get the welder ready. So now I just got to tack all these in, and then I'll take the tiger paw and smooth them all down. Like I said, this is awful because they've done an excellent job here, but it's just something I have to do because I messed up. Okay, and there's that. So there we are. That problem's fixed. I am going to degrease this and re-dip it in black anodize. I bought some more of that stuff. I liked it. I'm actually going to anodize a few other things while I'm at it. But that will fix this problem. Like I said, it's not too bad. It looks like crap right here just because of the way we had to do it spotted. I could have welded it all in and they put it all smooth and made it look like it was machined. From this side, it don't look as bad. It will work. It won't come out. More than likely, you'll never see all this anyways. And time I black anodize this and put a coat of paint on it, it'll fill in most of those cracks. Not happy about it, but it allows us to move forward. So now we're going to take a moment to talk about the next mistake. The axle, and more specifically the truss that I built. I thought everything was working out great, and then I ran into an issue, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you look on this side, I've got my brake caliper bracket mounted up. Everything went together real well. I'm test fitting this side. So I'm going to take the rotor and stuff back off and paint that stuff now that it's on there. And you come over to this side, and I started putting the brake caliper on. I notice the nuts are not tight yet because of over here. That nut there's on. I cannot put that nut on right there. The reason I cannot put that nut on is because it will hit this. Now, obviously that's an issue. So what I'm going to do is This is going to take a little bit of time. But I am going to take a nose grinder and I'm going to eat away at this right here until I can get it to fit right. And it's probably going to go into this where it'll open this up, and I will come back in and weld a piece of pipe to kind of brace that area and not leave a hole, but it will allow for the opening for me to get that nut on the truss. So mistake was made. I already have a method of how I'm going to fix it in order to be able to get the nut on there. So yeah, so we will take a moment to talk about mistakes now. So this is one of those deals where we talk about making mistakes, and of course one thing we've kind of prided ourselves on this channel is we are real life. This is what's going on. As far as making mistakes goes, you know, if we were professionals, maybe we wouldn't make as many. There's a lot of people who watch our stuff and say, well, that's not the right way to do that, and they are probably right. You know, somebody said the other day, not calling anybody specific out, but said, well, work smarter, not harder, and use a plasma cutter. Yeah, we don't have one of those. So, like to have one. We'll probably get one eventually, but and when I get it, it'll probably be the best thing I've ever had, and I can't understand how I lived without it. But right now, we just don't. So, you know, with making mistakes and doing things, and I've built several projects, a lot of them before we ever started the YouTube channel, and I made mistakes on those ones too. And we've already made some mistakes on Adam's bike that, you know, we will go over more as we continue filming on it. If you're going to build anything, unless you are the most perfect person in the world, you're going to make mistakes. I watch a lot of Motor Trend TV. You know, I've got some of my idols on there that I watch, and they've been doing some working from home segments, and if you guys watch it, you know what I'm talking about. And I've noticed a couple of them make mistakes, and they don't really like put a big spotlight on it as much as, okay, back up and punt. You know, what do we do now? Henry Ford said there's no such thing as a bad mistake as long as you learn from it. And of course, you know, a mistake is also considered a failure, and Edison talked about his previous failures in the light bulb, that he didn't discover how many ways he had failed, he discovered how many ways the light bulb wouldn't work. So that's, I'm verbatim here, I don't know the quote exactly, but what I'm getting at is if you're going to take on a project, if you've not done anything like this before, or even if you have done stuff like this before, odds are you're going to get so close in on something that you're not seeing another part of it, and you're going to make a mistake. When you back up and you get that, you know, go from a 50-foot view to a 500-foot view on it, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, that over there is going to make a difference. And I'm guilty of that. I'll get so excited and so intense on one section that I'll forget that there's other things that got to go with it. You know, I should have looked while building this truss and said, hey, how am I going to get that nut thread on there? Was so excited about building the truss and getting it placed in, didn't even think about it. So, not until I went to put it together. So, I'd like to leave everybody with this. If you've not started a project before, or if you're early into a project and you make a mistake, don't let that deter you from finishing or continuing on. Don't say, that's it, this project building's not for me, whatever it is you're working on, and throw in the towel and call it a day and sell it off, take a loss, hire somebody else to do it. Don't do that. Step back for a moment, think how you're going to fix it, move on. Odds are you won't like what you're doing, just like I don't like messing up those wheel adapters, but I'm going to move forward, and at the end goal is still going to be the same. And if you are like me and you've done a handful of projects and you're making mistakes and you know exactly where I'm coming from, and there are times you want to quit. There are times you think, man, I've screwed up, you know, we've got all this money wrapped up and I can't fix it. Ask for help. Ask somebody else for help. Ask somebody who you trust their judgment to say, look, I've done this. I'm not sure how I'm going to fix it. This is an idea I have. What do you think? And usually that's a good thing I've had is, you know, I create this brain trust around me of people like John and Brian and my dad and my other buddy Brian and several other people that if I get to that point and I hit a brick wall, I can call them and say, here's what I've ran into. And sometimes you just need that outside perspective because you can't see everything that's going on, and another set of eyes help. And if you don't have that perspective, you can join our group on Facebook and kind of ask the people on there. We're going to try and be a group of everybody to support each other on their projects. And if you're running into something or you want to know how somebody else done it, you can ask on there, and I'm sure somebody will chime in. But thanks for watching this video. Thanks for noticing our mistake. And we're going to see how things go after everything's corrected. And we'll show you a little bit more about the correction of the axle later on. You'll get a little clip of that as we continue on with this project. So you guys have a good day, and thanks for watching.